Hello, and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Terry Morrow, and I'm here with Catherine Halecko. Say hi, Catherine.
Hi, Terry.
Usually on this podcast, we talk about parenting issues, but once a week, Catherine and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics, because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. This week, it was finally time to watch the Season 7 opener of The West Wing, along with the West Wing Weekly podcast. But first, So You Think You Can Dance! You know, I noticed in the intro to this Academy episode, finally we are at the Academy. But I noticed they said again there, this was the best auditions ever, the best dancers ever we had. These are the tops of their individual styles. And then following that, it was an hour of, not very good, not very good. Nah, they don't have it. They don't got it. Bye.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, the absolute pinnacle of the dance world. And they can only master one type of dance, apparently.
Right.
So that was a big letdown because most of them did not look so good.
Yeah, I mean, what they chose to show. In my completely
unprofessional opinion.
I mean, they chose to show, they had what they said, something like 79 people.
Yeah.
And they kept on showing the people who weren't doing so hot. So,
I know, it doesn't seem
not
right.
Not sure why that decision was made.
That whole thing with the twins, which I was not necessarily that overjoyed to see them again because they're kind of a lot. Mm-hmm. And then the first twin, bombs out and he has to do his dance for his life, and then he fails, and then they, see the two twins, geez, we've never been apart in our lives before, and big drama. And then the next round, it's like, oh, there goes the other twin.
Yeah,
bye.
And they didn't even, you had to be paying attention to his name on the screen to know that was him.
You didn't even see him do his...
No.
Well, I guess maybe you saw him do the ballroom. I'm not sure.
I don't even know.
It's like, wow, that was anticlimactic.
Yes, it sure was.
He lasted a whole nother day. You go, guy. Your brother's still at the airport waiting for his flight. You could probably catch him.
Going back to Pittsburgh. See ya. Yeah. I wanted to hear, after the first day, there were 79, they said they started with. Uh-huh. And then they didn't tell you how many got through to day 2. Uh-huh. But then they did say, I believe, who made it to... Then they said a number again for 50-something. That was, I guess, day 3. I don't know. This is my constant complaint. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me how many people... We know you're getting to top 20. 10 of each. 10 guys, 10 girls. But, tell me more of the process. The way they just kind of randomly, seemingly pick people...
Yeah.
Makes it hard.
It makes me wonder how many of these kids... didn't get showcased in the auditions and then get cut in the Academy without ever really being on TV.
Yeah. Wouldn't
that stink? Shouldn't you at least get your face, I guess, in the group shots? There I am, Mom. I'm in the back row. See? There's me falling on my face. It was fine.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the ones that they showed during this Academy episode, I do feel like, I remember seeing them before, but definitely there were some where I was like, I'm pretty sure I've never seen that person before in my life, of the ones who got cut.
Boy, for somebody who got cut in the Academy, like in this first episode of the Academy, that smack got a lot of screen time. Man, she should be able to parlay that into something.
I feel like she should be on Broadway, because she can dance enough to do, to do that kind of thing. And she's definitely ready to perform.
Yeah. She's like the opposite of the kid who never really got on screen. I mean, she failed, but she failed with a big clip to share.
Right. She failed.
She did like 3 dances, I think we saw her. Yeah, so good luck to her. She was fun. But and then it was fun to see Sasha and Emma.
Yes.
hey, from our other show.
Right.
Although they were there for like 30 seconds, I felt like.
I know.
It was amusing because they were like, here, we've choreographed a piece for you. And they do this fabulous thing where she's flipping all over the place. Bye, kids!
Right.
Yeah.
They barely
How
showed
exactly
them
is that going to be possible? I did enjoy seeing the variations on the flipping the girl over at the end, from professionally done to
please God don't drop her on her head.
And I think the couple with the short guy and the taller girl just did not go for it at all. There are laws of physics. Come on. So
yes,
that was kind of fun. And as I was Facebook messaging with you, Emma's been a brunette on Instagram since May 29th. So I guess the dates when this happened.
It's been a while.
It's so weird seeing her blonde again, because I've gotten used to her having dark hair, because I follow both her and Sasha. So I've seen lots and lots of pictures and videos of her. And whoa.
I guess they needed a lot of time to edit this all together in this bizarre fashion.
But I still wonder, what do all these kids just go home and then say, hey, come back for the live stuff? That sort of would break your, maybe they just train between. Yeah. I don't know how it works, but that, there should have been a do not dye your hair clause for everybody involved in the show, because it does make you wonder. I mean, I would say, well, she just dyed it back, but she's, she posted on Instagram today with dark hair. So, somewhere in that time, she's been, she would have had to dye it blonde and then dye it back. So unless she was wearing a wig, this was dated. Instantly dated for anybody who follows her on Instagram. So who else was memorable in all of this? Why didn't they have the cute little contemporary couple ballroom together?
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess it was nice. For her to be with a dancer who knew what he was doing, but not everybody had that advantage.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, how do they decide who's partnered up with who? Because when Sasha and Emma came on, they're like, okay, get your partners. And then they just all did. Like, they must have told them beforehand who they were with. Right. But how did they decide that?
Yeah. That seems like a little finger on the scale. But it was, I guess that is always the case with these academy when everybody's doing a different style than their own. It was not the slickest night of dancing we've ever watched. And it's hard to say who's going to come out of this being the unbelievably good top 10.
Right.
But
from the collection of the best people we've ever seen in our long careers as dancers.
I can't think of anybody that I think is the best I've ever seen on So You Think You Can Dance. But there's some very likable ones. So I wish them well. I feel like the, what was his name? Ghost? He was the male equivalent of Smack, and why he got away with it and she didn't, I don't know.
Exactly. Yes. Good point.
Yeah. But, they had different storylines developed for them, apparently. So
and
maybe she got a show somewhere.
Could continue.
I'd put the two of them together. That'd have been fun.
Oh my gosh, that would have been so fun.
They would have just wiped up the stage with nobody could have looked at anybody but them.
Yeah.
But, oh well. So now next, I guess, Mandy Moore is next week, right? They didn't do that one, so. Yeah, part of the problem with this one is it's just people doing the same choreography over and over and over and over.
Right, so they don't want to show it too many times.
Yeah, varying degrees of badness. So, but there's many times where they say one person, hey, you did it, you did a good job, and say to somebody, that was just not up to par. And I'm like, they look just exactly as bad as the other to me, or as good, or as slide throughy.
Well, and
but that's why we don't get the big judging bucks, apparently.
Yeah, and also as with the previous auditions, they're cutting to the judges, conferring with each other and watching, instead of letting us see the dance so that we can form an opinion. Yeah.
No, we wouldn't want that. Our time for forming opinions is when we get to be able to call in and vote for people. True. So we bide our time. Well, moving on to The West Wing, finally. We've been waiting quite a while to watch this season 7 opener, which, as I warned last week, starts with a completely WTF opener that's flash-forwarded 3 years into the future for no apparent reason other than to mildly spoil at least one plot thread from the season, and possibly more, if I'm recalling correctly. And give a fake out as to the ending of the election, which is incredibly annoying. So was it as completely confounding as I feel like I built it up a bit as this ridiculous thing. Did you also find it a ridiculous thing?
I did, especially because, as you say, if it doesn't really pay off later in the season, why did we do this? I mean, it gives you a little bit of reassurance that, like, I don't know, CJ's not in jail or something.
Exactly, yeah.
So
they're all walking free, at least the people that were there.
Right. And I felt like having Josh come and say the president's here was a big fat spoiler.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess I haven't confirmed that, so.
Yeah, I will not say whether it is or not. I will say that at the time, I recall the writers or the spokespeople for the thing saying, well, maybe Josh works for Bartlett now. Maybe he works for the library. Maybe he was just coming in at that particular moment and happened to notice the motorcade. It doesn't mean anything, but come on.
Yeah.
It's like this is just stupid.
Yeah. And when they talked about it on the West Wing Weekly podcast, I skipped a couple minutes because it felt dangerous to me. So
yeah.
I skipped
No, they didn't. They didn't spoil anything. But it's just, and I feel like having heard that episode of the West Wing Weekly podcast recently with Lawrence O'Donnell, kind of writer-splaining some dicey plot turns to come. I just feel like if I heard him talking about why they did this, I would just want to smack him, because I'm sure it was just that, I think they were bored in the writer's room and they say, hey, what if we did this? I don't think there was any good reason for it. And I mean, boy, were they lucky that they didn't put John Spencer in that scene.
Right.
Because that had been hard to explain.
Exactly. And
I was reading the comments on the West Wing Weekly podcast episode, and somebody said that they edited him out later, but I don't believe he was there. I don't think that that's true. I think that this was the particular group they wanted to highlight. And oh my gosh, 3 years from now, Charlie still has the same stupid mustache? Really? Really? Come on, man. Do you look in the mirror?
Right. Josh Molina had, got LASIK apparently, as they talked about in the podcast, but Charlie's still got the mustache.
Such a bad look.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree with what they said. We really don't find out anything about Charlie. Everybody else, we know Kate wrote a book. We know Will is a congressperson. We know CJ and Danny have a baby. But Charlie's just, throwing out a quip to the president. They couldn't have thrown us a, how's my daughter and my grandchild? No.
Right.
They don't throw that. They don't want to tease.
I know. If Charlie was going to be there, it should have been because he's now part of the family. I don't know.
Yes, which I don't really recall where we end up with Charlie and Zoe, but, it wouldn't have to be anything we ever saw on the show. I just would like to know 3 years from now that they finally got together. It would have been so easy. Yeah. So that was just completely unnecessary weirdness. It had no connection with the rest of the episode at all.
No, and, it really didn't.
Whether it turns out to be majorly spoilery or not, it feels that way. And it also takes away from us. I mean, I won't say whether the CJ Danny thing is something that happens this season or something that they're just fan servicing for this one little flash forward. But, it would be nice to not know that, I think, going into this season, one way or the other.
Yep.
The rest of the episode was surprisingly very good. I liked it. But this just starts it out with such a head scratcher. And it's extremely annoying.
Yeah, the rest of it is, the campaign is in full swing, although we don't get any Vinnick. It all focuses on Santos and Leo and Josh and some, of course, you get Oliver Babish coming back in, which is excellent.
Very happy to see Oliver Babish. Very unhappy with that whole storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And just the heavy-handedness of the camera work and this is the sort of thing that when you are watching, say, NCIS or, any other just sort of mainstream solve a case kind of show.
Right.
They will finger heavily one person for the first 25 minutes. And you will say, well, I know that person didn't do it. So who else can it be?
Right. It's too early for it to be that person.
Exactly. So just this show should be above that. It just the whole, I can't say too much about it, but also, let's stay out on the campaign trail, shall we? Please.
When it comes to that storyline, I'm more interested in what's going to happen to those astronauts than this whole leak thing.
But the writers, not so much.
Yeah.
This was like, how can we have interesting storylines for the White House while we do all this fun campaign stuff? I know. Yeah. Such a bad idea. Anyway, we'll get into that some more in a little bit. But we get Joey Lucas. A little bit of Joey Lucas and Kenny.
Visit from Joey and Kenny.
Yeah, nice to see them. Mm-hmm. And return of Donna and Josh, briefly.
Yeah.
Sadly.
That was too bad because, that was her job and he knows it.
Yes. Yes. I
don't know.
The thing is, political operatives know that.
Yeah.
But does the general public know that? If she had sort of a high-profile position of talking in the Russell campaign, can she just bloop right on over to having to talking about Santos and nobody at home is going to say, wait a minute, aren't you the cute blonde lady who was saying this a month ago?
Right.
It seems like, I kind of think he has a point.
Yeah, maybe.
Although it's obviously way more fraught than that.
Yeah.
But... maybe there was a different way she could have approached it. Right. And that she did not expect it to be a problem at all. I don't know. But...
Well, and as she pointed out...
every day.
I know. As she pointed out, he was calling Russell a cowpoke and,
Yeah. But he's not applying for a job in the Russell campaign.
Right. And as he says,
so,
I won.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, snarky Josh.
Yes, yes. Well, we'll see how that develops. But we got the one new hire in the campaign. The woman, I can't think of what her name is. The first woman they introduced, who said, "Oh, the congressman." Edith, she's in it quite a bit. I recognized her as somebody who's in it. I recognized a few of the many, many, many people they introduced. And most of them, I was like, well, that was your 1 second of screen time.
Right.
Slap that on your resume.
I was on the West Wing.
But there was a few people who are familiar faces for the campaign going forward. So,
I did like that. They talked about this on the podcast too, where the guy said, "Is it a photogenic baby?"
Oh, I loved that. And also,
well, some of them are.
Just the look that Leo gave him was so wonderful. It is a point, but you probably don't say that to the grandfather.
Exactly. Yes.
I was worried about Leo through so much of this episode, and I really loved the ending where Santos kind of explains, this is your value. Yeah. It's not for the campaign, it's for the after, and that makes tons of sense.
Yeah, it really does.
And it really, really reminded me of a scene at the end of the series, which I'll have to take a note to go back and compare it. So that's nice. And again, so obvious that this was going to be the storyline with Leo. Although, law of economy of characters, you got to find a vice president from somebody who's already on the staff. We only have so much money.
But as they did point out on the podcast, they could have given us a little more, this is why.
Yes.
Prior to that conversation that Leo and Matt Santos had.
Right. So. Yeah. Something they mentioned in the podcast, and people in the comments on the West Wing Weekly podcast website were taking exception with, and I think they're right. Leo wasn't part of the cover-up of the MS. Didn't he find out about it later? I remember him saying to Bartlett, I could have been a friend, I could have helped, we would still have gotten this done.
Mm-hmm. I honestly can't remember.
I can't remember quite either, but I don't think that it was like there was a meeting where Leo said, okay, what we're going to do is we're just never going to mention this. Mm-hmm. He wasn't like an architect of the cover-up. He may have been a participant in it once it was already going. But they made it sound like, well, you perpetrated this fraud, and so now you're going to get stuck with.
Right.
That was not as I remember it happening, but I'm not sure. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll have to go back and watch 17 People.
That's right. That's right. Because the person who was commenting was saying that he was the one who urged Bartlett to tell Toby and to, start moving forward with something about it. So I don't know. That was interesting. Yeah. Anyway, on we go into the campaign. What will happen? Whose foot that was coming out of the car? We shall eventually find out. We couldn't see the foot was too blurred for us to see if the shoes were freshly shined, because if they were, we would know it was Vinnick. Yeah. He was probably shining them in the car on the way over. But, well, that will be it for our round 2 this week. Next week, we will continue journeying on with So You Think You Can Dance, and we will follow the West Wing campaign with the episode The Mommy Problem. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes. We have something new for you every weekday. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Catherine.
Bye, Terry.
Goodbye, everybody.